Hello chaps, and welcome to the first ever episode of DTH Podcast, or Defend the Podcast, or To Be Confirmed and Selected.
Yeah.
So basically,
title pending.
Title pending. So basically, I'm quickly going to go through why we thought this was a good idea. Well, first of all, I am joined by Jamison. Say hello, chap.
Hello, chap.
Very funny. It's the same crew from DTH Reviews. And basically, me and Jamison, we're quite similar in our tastes when it comes to the fact that we play too many games, we watch too many films. So when it comes to DTH Reviews, there's a lot more for us to say. And outside of DTH Reviews and modern titles, you know, we're playing and we're watching a lot of stuff. So we thought, why not talk about it? And DTH Reviews is kind of a podcast format anyway. Like, the people who enjoy DTH Reviews, we kind of presumed that they would be happy watching or listening to a podcast because our reviews are pretty long, like 30 to 40 minutes. So they should probably be a little bit longer than that. But I don't know. Our GTA 5 review was about an hour long.
Yeah.
So if
and
any of you,
like our list videos are substantial.
Yeah. So if any of you listen to those, I'm sure you can manage with however long this is going to be. Yeah,
and also because you know, this is all very hobby for us, and so it'll allow us to not necessarily like formally review, but it'll allow us to discuss more games, and like putting out a review in a relevant time for us is more or less impossible, and that's why all of our videos are late. And then even when we do get something and want to review it, it's just sometimes it takes too long, and then we eventually decide, hey, it's not worth it. Like Dying Light, you know, that was out the last week of January. Give us 2 weeks to play it, and then record a review, and then a week to edit, and lo and behold, it's like a month already. And you know, so we're gonna, I think, do these like once a month and put them out sort of near the end of the month, and it'll allow us to cover what we've been playing, and you know, it'll allow us to sort of mini review more games, though we'll still do proper DTH review videos.
I think
for the big games.
There was a few reviews that we actually like threw out. Assassin's Creed Unity and the Master Chief Collection. I think you yourself got busy around, was it the holiday period?
Yeah, we've had a few times where reviews we recorded them and I just wasn't able to get them edited in any sort of reasonable time.
Yeah.
You know, I think reasonable time is like 3 or 4 weeks for most things. But yeah, after like a month, it's just not worth it.
So those type of things, if we feel it's been too long for a review, we can kind of transition them over to the podcast and kind of talk about them without the pressure of people being like, you're so late, why are you even uploading this?
Yeah, and then we'll still review the big games like The Witcher 3 and Batman, you know, those will get their own reviews.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter how late they are, we don't really care, so
let's talk about the format. This is subject to change. We've never tried anything like this. It's the first time we are trying this. But I thought a good thing would be to go through gaming. We're going to talk about what stuff we've been playing, not necessarily new. It could be old or any range of stuff that we've been playing over the last month or so. And then we're going to discuss some gaming news and then basically repeat those two processes for films.
Yeah. And
so there should be quite a lot to talk about.
The focus will still be primarily games.
Yeah, definitely.
Just because that's you know, the channel is about games.
So let's start off with games that we have been playing across this last month.
The big
so what do you want to start with?
I think we should just start with the big ones and work our way smaller. And the biggest one right now would be Bloodborne.
Definitely, yeah.
Like without any doubt. I mean, it's probably the biggest. I mean, it's definitely the biggest PS4 exclusive so far, I'd say.
Yeah, not really
like
difficult, to
Infamous, Drive Club, The Order, Bloodborne.
Yeah, it was a big one. I was excited because, me personally, I have played Demon's Souls, Dark Souls, and Dark Souls 2.
Jeez.
And I loved Dark Souls 2. I didn't quite finish. I got halfway through, and it kind of lost me. I can't quite pinpoint why. I just wasn't as hooked as I was with Dark Souls. Dark Souls was kind of something special for the time. But you yourself, you do not share these feelings. Tell me about your experience with the Bloodborne games. Sorry, the the Dark Souls games?
Yeah, well, I wasn't necessarily excited for Bloodborne because it was I have tried the previous games and just don't really like them. I put I put a very small amount of time into the first Dark Souls, and then like 8 or so hours into Dark Souls 2, and enough to play enough. Dark Souls 2, I set out on a goal to play enough of it to understand as much of it as possible and to decide for myself whether or not I like it. And it was too slow. I don't like boss fights. I don't really get anything from beating boss fights, and it was too obscure.
Dark Souls is a bit obscure, yeah.
Yeah, and I played enough of it to be able to recognize what it's good at. I thought the basic moment-to-moment, like fighting the basic enemies, I did find that a little bit enjoyable after a while. But I eventually just hit a wall where it was like you have to kill a boss to explore more.
Yeah.
And I was enjoying I enjoyed exploring the environments, but I hit a point where it's like kill this boss or this boss or this boss. And I just said, nah, it's okay, I don't care enough, and I never played it again.
Yeah, that's fair.
I've always appreciated the games, and I think it's great that they're so successful, and they're always cool, but up until Bloodborne, I had just known that they're not really my cup of tea. So I was not exactly excited for Bloodborne, though I did know that I was going to give it the same amount of time that I gave Dark Souls 2 at the very least, which was, put time into it, see if I like it, and if I like it, great, and if I don't, so be it. And I like it.
I'm still quite surprised about this because there are a lot of differences between Bloodborne and Dark Souls, especially when you played a lot of the previous games. You noticed them very early on, but I didn't think there was enough differences to kind of pull you over to the good side. So I was quite surprised to hear that you were enjoying Bloodborne.
I don't
put
really
a finger on it?
No.
Can you explain this?
No. I think a few things make it a lot easier to get into. It's not as intensely obscure and up its own ass as the previous games. Okay. Like all of the humanity stuff, and there's just so much about the old games that I don't understand.
You could just read a guide, and then it would pretty much summarize it in 5 minutes.
Yeah, but
it's not that obscure.
Still, and also, it's that, and in combination with the more than anything, I think it's the vastness of options you have in the previous games, in terms of combat. Like you can dual wield, you can sword and shield, you can longsword, you can bow and arrow, you can magic, and that stuff. And looking at the stats screen, and you've got 15 different things you can put stats into. I just looked at that and I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know where I'm supposed to put points. I don't know how I should be playing this game. Bloodborne.
There's definitely a lot of reading when I first started Dark Souls.
Yeah, and I didn't care enough either to go out of my way to figure out the very basic functions of the video game.
Yeah, I did have a guide bookmarked at all times through that journey.
Yeah, so I think Bloodborne, it does a good job of sort of streamlining it, reducing the excess. The combat, there's pretty much 1 or 2 ways to play that game. I mean, I'm sure there are, crazy magic things that you can get into. I've read that there are, but for the most part, it's you have a gun and you have a weapon. In your right hand, and you either use your gun and that weapon at the same time, or you just dual wield the weapon, or dual hand the weapon, and that alone made it way easier to get into. In combination with, I don't know, it's that, and maybe in combination with the speed, the speed with which you regenerate stamina and you can dodge and attack. It's all way faster than the previous games.
Yeah, I'm not actually that surprised. There was a lot of very subtle differences between Bloodborne and Dark Souls. People have mocked how similar it is. They think it's just... this is hard to say. They think it's just a clone, and it kind of is a clone, but it doesn't play as similar as it looks.
No. Yeah, I get that.
It's hard to put into words. It looks exactly the same. It's the same format, but it plays surprisingly different.
Yeah, and I think
so anyway.
That was a big that was a big part of it. And I know some people, I'm sure that the sort of hardcore community, I wonder how they feel about Bloodborne with its vastly limited options compared to Dark Souls, which has just an insane amount of stuff to choose from.
I think a lot of them wouldn't have been happy with some of the dumbed-down.
I think that's the case, yeah. But for beginners like myself, I think it makes it way easier to get into without necessarily sacrificing the core ideas of the game. I think just fundamentally it is more accessible, even though it is still at times obtuse for the sake of being obtuse, and it is at times up its own asshole, like the Chalice dungeon shit.
Oh, wow.
There are things in those games that I still think are unnecessary, and like there's no difference to me between going to the internet and asking how the hell do I level up and the game just telling me how I level up.
Yeah.
Or just little things like that. I mean, I don't need the game to say like this is how you do exactly all these things, but there are still things in it that are like, this is why don't you just say how to do this? I don't understand.
Yeah, us trying to play Chalice dungeons together was like a special experience. Like, that was probably the worst like co-op, attempted co-op experience I've ever been through. It was just insane what we had to go through to get that to work.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me shaking my head back and forth, but oh god, yeah, the Chalice Dungeon co-op stuff was a nightmare.
It's so bad.
And
oh my god.
It's all because it's like obsessed with the in-world, we got to have it so that you use the Thumerian chalice and the old-blooded whatever the fuck umbilical cords and combine these, and then you join with the numbers, and it's like, you guys, this would have been completely fine if it was a menu.
Yeah.
Like they gain nothing. They actually lose some things because it's so complicated. But that's neither here nor there. I still think the boss fights for me aren't. They are occasionally satisfying. They are also occasionally not satisfying, where it's like, thank fuck I never have to play that ever again. But for the most part, it's sort of just been like, okay, now what? Or moving on. You kill a boss. I don't think the game's very difficult. I don't mean that as like a humble brag, but like it's just not difficult in the way that I was led to believe those games were difficult.
When it comes to the boss fights, one thing, I actually finished the game yesterday.
Right.
Finally. What an accomplishment. But one thing I will say, I didn't like the boss fights compared to Dark Souls. There was something about Bloodborne boss fights which felt very kind of just swing a giant axe around in circles, dive forward, and hope for the best.
That's because the axe is the best weapon.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. There were very few boss fights where I kind of felt like I had to try 4 or 5 times, and I was like observing what the boss was doing, and I was learning its patterns. They do exist. They are in the game. But they felt much fewer than in Dark Souls. With Dark Souls, I felt like when I was overcoming the boss, I was doing it because I was being smart and I was learning and adapting. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times in Bloodborne, I was kind of just swinging and hoping for the best. Yeah. And I'm sure people are going to be like, well, every boss has a tactic, and if you just learnt it... But I didn't have to.
Yeah, it's called hold down the dual-handed axe charge, the right trigger,
swing.
And you do this like double circular spin, and it stun locks the boss, and your stamina recharges so quickly, and you hold down right trigger again, and do that like 4 times before the boss figures out what's going on. I think there were... The first 2 bosses I found extremely frustrating because the camera is such a piece of shit sometimes.
Especially because... Well, the best tactic with the big bosses, which is like 80% of them, is to dive towards it to avoid the swings and everything. You get underneath it and you swing away.
Right.
You get some decent hits in without being hurt. Because you do that so often, the camera doesn't really know what to do when you're underneath it. It starts going under the floor and all around you. So the camera can be a bit of a nightmare.
Even the like arena, like the first, the bridge boss, that area is too small. And the second boss, the tombstones, not only are they getting in your way, they're also getting in the camera's way. And yeah, I've only had 4 challenging bosses. I'm probably 70% of the way through. I think I've got like 4 or 5 bosses left.
Oh, you've got a fun one to come, bro.
So I've heard.
Fun one.
But like the only bosses that have given me trouble, the first 2 were just a combination of camera issues and me being, new to the game.
Yeah.
The second one was the midway Rom Spider Lake boss, which is just he was just a bit of an asshole. He wasn't. That was just like you said. This is a boss that you have to just sit back and learn.
Yeah.
And then the fourth boss that I had problems with was again just because of camera issues. And every other boss, it's been like I've either killed it first try or it took me 2 or 3 tries, and that's it. So I mean it's challenging, but it's not hard. Like you have to play well, and if you play well and smart and calmly, then you shouldn't really have any problems with it. But
except for the last boss.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And a couple of the areas in the game.
Not the last boss that we're going to do. I call it the official last boss, but there is an extra boss.
Sure.
You have to do something really obscure, like you said.
Yeah.
But the last boss is extremely difficult, and it took me like 10 attempts. And by the end, I literally knew every one of his movements and strokes that he was doing.
Right.
And it was, I'd like to say satisfying, but I was so angry by the end of it that I wasn't even satisfied.
I think what I enjoy most about it is the exploring of the environments, because despite the inconsistent frame rate and kind of crummy overall image quality, the game has some of the most incredible and horrible art I have ever seen.
Oh yeah, it's pretty gross.
I mean it as like the utmost compliment. I hate everything about the way it looks because it is such a nightmare. But I think what I've enjoyed most is just exploring the environments, pushing your way forward, and then finding that shortcut, and all of a sudden you're like, oh wow, hey,
those shortcuts.
I'm back at the beginning of the game. What?
Yeah.
That stuff's been really consistently great, and seeing the never-ending lineup of new and more petrifying enemy designs. That's the stuff that I've enjoyed most, is just exploring and looking at everything they made. Because I don't know, I've been using the axe since the beginning of the game and haven't found a better weapon. And
that's because there isn't, really.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm sure there is, but...
And I've sort of found myself... I haven't really played in like a week just because I don't know, I just decided to take a little break. Playing like 35 hours in a short period of time, sort of gets under your skin. But I have found myself getting a little tired of the combat, perhaps, just because it's like, yep, I've got my axe. I'm just going to R2, R1... And then
it's almost a shame that you had the axe from the beginning, because I kind of had that variety where I started with the cleaver, and then literally about halfway through I migrated over to the axe. So I've had a little bit of variety, and I still switch between both of them, because the cleaver's really fast and the axe is slow and strong. So I kind of like switch between both of them depending on what enemies I'm fighting. So I guess that kind of has varied the combat for me, maybe slightly more than yourself.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's sort of a shame that the best weapon of the game is available from the start, even though I didn't know that when I booted it up. How have you... shit, what was I just going to ask? I don't remember. Oh, well.
Well, since I've actually finished Bloodborne, I will quickly summarize as a Dark Souls fan what I overall thought of the game.
Where does it fall for you?
It falls short of Dark Souls by actually quite a chunk, in my opinion. I didn't think the environments were as varied, and I actually did like the combat in Bloodborne more, but it wasn't quite enough to push it over Dark Souls. As I said, I didn't really like the boss fights as much as Dark Souls, and also the fact that I had to keep farming the blood vials was the worst thing ever. I don't know how during testing that made it through. They had the system in Dark Souls, and I really liked it, because humanity was what insight is in Bloodborne,
right?
And it was rarer in Dark Souls. It was like a really precious thing that you had to use, and you could use it at a bonfire to make it so you had, instead of 5 flasks when you respawn, you'd have 10, and you could use yet another humanity to pump it up to 15, and again to 20, but only at that specific bonfire/lamp. So they were so precious, and you had to strategically use them. But when you died, you spawned, and you had your flask, and you could try again. You didn't have to go back to Central Yarnum
right,
for the 400th time. Oh, just sick of it.
Dark Souls 2, you could upgrade the efficiency of the flask, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, you can in Dark Souls 1 as well.
Okay, yeah. I don't know why they... Like, I understand why they didn't put in the upgrading thing, because the flasks are very popular and they do a good amount of healing. But, yeah, having to go and farm and, like, not being able to warp from one lamp to the next, you have to go to a lamp, load into Hunter's Dream, go to the tombstone, load into Central Yharnam, and then run your loop and collect like 10 vials, and then load into Hunter's Dream, and then load into Central Yharnam again, and just do it all over. And that is a real momentum killer, I think, because it's been
massively, yeah. And the load times, like, whew.
Yeah, I don't know how they managed to do that. Sony really should have like sent their crack squad of engineers over to Japan and been like, okay guys, let's clean this shit up. This is a PS4 exclusive here. Let's get these load times under control. But like, you'll go and attempt to kill a boss 2 or 3 times and you're making momentum, and then it's like, oh, I have no vials. Okay, well, I guess I'll just stop for today. And yeah, it's a bit of a shame. There are definitely, like, it feels like a case of multiple steps forward and then like a little step backwards just in a few areas.
I don't even understand how that blood vial format came to exist, because the only alternative is that you purchase blood vials with echoes, but when you die you don't have any unless you have those consumable ones in your inventory. So I just don't understand how through testing this didn't come up as an issue. It just seemed bizarre to me, especially since, in my opinion, the system in Dark Souls was just, it was fine, it wasn't broken, it didn't need to be fixed. So it's just
it's just a weird decision.
Strange. It's a strange decision.
Yeah.
But we've complained a bit, but overall I finished it yesterday and I like it. It's a really, really good game. Probably the best PS4 exclusive.
Oh,
I
easily,
put it slightly above Infamous. And yeah, it's a good game. I really look forward to seeing where they go with it next. I'm sure they're going to have a ton of community feedback, so hopefully Bloodborne 2 will be more refined. But overall, I feel like the combat was a push forward.
Yes.
I think the combat was better.
I think that's the biggest step forward, is how fast and aggressive the combat is, because
especially since the combat is 90% of the game.
Yeah.
This is similar to our Destiny review, where we complain a lot, but in the end, it's just fun.
The combat is and the environments and visuals. Yeah. Oh, weird. Bloodborne is 2015's Destiny.
That's mean, man.
That's it. Yeah. Don't worry, Bloodborne. I'm just kidding. I don't mean to insult you. I briefly booted up Dark Souls 1 on the PC, and it was like, this is like glacially slow. I cannot play this.
Yeah,
just
you might have to.
The roll is like slow motion.
You can make him fast roll, but you have to be like wearing no armor.
Dodge away. Oh, look at it's like I can't do this. But
it's different.
I'm glad I was able to get into it, and I've always been able to appreciate what those games did, and I've always understood why people like them. I'm just glad that this one clicked with me.
That's cool, yeah. I'm quite glad you're on the good team, because for the first few days it was actually really fun, because this is the first Souls game that I've gone into without a guide. I played Dark Souls 1 and 2 quite a few months after they were released, so I could just go onto the internet, get some advice from people who have cracked it.
The first week was fun, because we were all, it was just you and I back and forth, like
giving each other tips and strategies. That was unique, actually. I've never had to do that, where you require other people who have recently played the game to help you get through it.
That was a neat part of it as well. And I'm glad it was a good get for Sony. It was smart of them to lock it up, because it's a cool game, and God, did the PS4 ever need it? Oh my lord. Anyways, we should probably move on.
That was I knew it was going to be a long chat. That was the big one.
That's easy. I'd say that's the biggest game of the year so far.
Yeah, I'd say so.
In terms of quality, and who knows about sales? I know it's already sold like 1 million+ units, which I think is quite good.
I think it's good.
Because I think Dark Souls 2 did like 2 million in its lifespan across multiple platforms. So anyway, good for them. I'm sure they'll do DLC or something.
From software.
Could be kind of cool. Yeah. We'll see.
So next, what do you want to talk about next?
We should probably keep going with the big ones and get GTA 5 out of the way.
GTA 5 Heist and PC release.
Yeah, let's do Heist first, because they put out that Heist update a little over a month ago now.
Was it?
It was like the middle of March, I think.
Time flies. Okay.
Maybe even earlier. 18 or 17 months after release, they finally put out the long-awaited heist update.
They take their time.
Oh my god, do they ever? But it was fairly worth it, I think. We've played 4 of the 5 heists.
4 or 5. 4 or 5, yeah.
We still have the final proper heist to do, which we might be doing in the next couple days. They've been good. The first one is sort of just a tutorial, and then from there on there's 4, and it's 4 people, lots of setup missions. They've taken us pretty consistently about 3 hours to do.
Yeah, we're a bit under.
2.5, 3, which is pretty substantial for a free update. I mean, times that out by 4, and you're talking like 10 or 12 hours of new gameplay, which is pretty impressive.
They really could have charged for it as well.
Oh, easily.
Definitely like $20 for it or more.
With no issues, yeah. And people would have bought it, no problem. So good on them for doing that. I think that's pretty great. And yeah, they're really well made. They're full of new cutscenes and some new characters and dialogue, and you're going to new environments, and they're going
lots
into
of new content, new vehicles, etc.
Yeah, going into like the prison and the chemical facilities and cop shops. Yeah, it's been
cool seeing more of environments that we already knew existed in the map. The prison was particularly cool. That was a really cool moment. Good heist, actually. A really, really good heist.
Yeah, I think the first heist is like the first proper 4-player heist was great. The second one was pretty underwhelming, I think, in the end.
Yeah, a little bit lackluster, but still alright.
Yeah, and then the third one was back up there, a ton of fun.
Last heist was really good, actually.
Yeah, and then we still have one more. So yeah, I'm glad that they're out and they're good. There's a lot of stuff to them, and they're substantial.
I'm just glad they are exactly what we expected them to be.
Yeah,
GTA Online wasn't what we expected to be.
No. I mean, in an ideal world, I was expecting them to be pretty much on par with the campaign heists, and I'd say they are. Like
they pretty much are.
Pretty much are presented in the same high quality and full of all unique stuff. So, yeah, I can't really fault it much there. It's been a ton of fun playing that, and GTA is just still consistently. GTA 5 is a really cool game.
They have done an amazing job of keeping people on it.
God, have they ever.
Like, it's crazy.
It's amazing.
So also, what came out is the PC version of the game, which I haven't picked up yet, but I plan to in the future. Have you jumped in? Had a little go?
I have. I somewhat conveniently upgraded my PC just before it released.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
With a new graphics card. And yeah, the PC version, I was... Again, hoping it would be good, but very cautiously optimistic about it because the GTA 4 PC port was terrible.
I never tried it.
It was so bad.
Bad things.
It was like legendarily awful. And this version seems totally, well, not totally fine, but for the most part, very good. It looks excellent. It scales up really well. They've added in new stuff like the editor, the sort of cinematic editor that you can use, which seems pretty diverse. You can get up to some really dumb stuff.
Yeah, that's going to result in some interesting content on YouTube.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing all the sort of movie-like things people make with it. It seems really, really substantially fleshed out, actually. You can also go into something called director mode, which like you can basically sort of create things and then go back and you have like a saved version of it, like a saved sort of game data video file version of it, basically like Halo, where you could play something and then go back and look at a video of it.
Oh right, yeah.
It's basically I think saving it not as a video file but as a game data file, and then it allows you to manipulate the camera like Halo,
like Halo managed so many years ago.
Yeah, 7 years ago. I was messing with it yesterday, and you can like spawn in as just about any character in the world.
Oh, that's nice.
And turn on all sorts of dumb cheats like explosive bullets and invincibility and 5-star wanted level, and put that game engine to the test. Let's just say that. It's a good version. It runs really well. It seems to scale quite well, to my knowledge, onto lower end PCs.
Which is good because like the main thing that I want to do is play it on the Oculus.
Right.
And you can already do it. Someone's already figured out how to do it.
Yeah, and I'm sure
I'm so excited for it.
You crank down most of the settings, it still looks okay. You get the sense of scale.
Yeah, well the Oculus resolution is pretty poor anyway. So.
Yeah, it's still only 1080, so something like that. Anyways, yeah.
Man, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, that could be dangerous. Oculus in GTA 5.
Never leave.
No. But they put out, somebody did a really good comparison between it and the PS4 version, and it was nice to see that the PS4 version holds up really, really well to the PC version, maxed out. Obviously, the PC, you can go up to 60 frames per second.
Oh, how does that look?
It looks really nice. Probably the nicest thing about it is first-person mode with a mouse at 60 frames per second, because you can actually play it like a first-person shooter, and not like I'm just gonna spam the left trigger and auto lock onto everyone's head.
That sounds really bizarre.
And it works really well. Just being able to quickly pop your aiming reticle onto everybody. It makes firefights go quick, because it's just like headshot, headshot, headshot. Yeah. Okay, that's it. I'm curious to see how much I keep playing. I did not intend on playing much of the campaign, but I've already put the 6 or 7 hours into the campaign because it's so good. Wow, and I'm still seeing things that I've never seen before. It's unbelievable.
I'm looking forward to the main thing I'm looking forward to is silly mods that the community come up, because I used to love seeing what people did in the GTA 4 version on the PC, and some of it was hilarious. So I'm really looking forward to what the community comes up with inside the GTA 5 engine and such. That should be entertaining.
God, yeah, GTA 5 just continues to impress, basically.
Yeah, it is not going away.
18 months later, it's still relevant and just as impressive as it was when it first came out, honestly.
Rockstar know what they're doing.
Yeah, I
they
think
really
so.
do.
Yeah, I think now we're into the territory where I have played these games, you have played those games, and never the twain shall meet, basically. Like, it's...
Yeah, I've got a list of 4 small games I'll probably talk about.
Okay.
Won't be long between any of them. They're just small little... some of them are early access, and some of them are indie weird stuff.
Well, why don't you knock those out, and then I'll cover my stuff.
Okay, well, every time we do one of these podcasts, I'm going to be the guy who's probably played the weirdest stuff.
Yeah.
Because I do my weird YouTube videos on them. But... something that I played recently that I wanted to try out for a long time. I was hungover one day and I wanted something to sit back and stream. And I tried Prison Architect for the first time, which, if you don't know, is kind of a, what do you call them, like a simulation godlike game, like kind of like SimCity. I don't know what the genre is, but you're basically
a management game.
Management, yeah, that's it, management sim. You're basically doing that with a prison. There's not really much to say. It's a simple game. You overlook a prison. You create different departments and rooms and sections, and you expand it, and you keep your prisoners happy. And you've got the fun random element of these inmates sometimes going crazy, and they've all got little backstories, and it's a cute game. I like the presentation of it, and it's one of those games where you play it and then you're like, all right, I'm just going to do this one little task and then I'm going to move on to something else. And then it's like 4 hours later and you're still trying to do something else. It's one of those games, but yeah, not much to say about it, but I tried it for the first time, so I thought I would quickly mention it.
So you've been enjoying it? Because, I mean, that's like, it's still in early access, right, to my knowledge. And it's been in early access and like $40 for like 2 years or something.
I think I picked up in a sale.
Yeah, because I've been wanting to try it out since it first started coming out, which it feels like it's been around for a long time now.
Yeah, it really has. I'm literally just on Steam. I'm just going to quickly check if it is still in early access.
Yeah, I think it is, which is crazy because it's been
quite expensive. You're right. It's £20 British. So what would that be?
Like 40 Canadian. Yeah.
And you're right, it's still early access.
Wow, yeah. It's been early access, I'd say, for like 2 years now.
How is it DLC when it's early access? Is that even allowed?
Steam is so weird, man.
There is like... Okay, never mind. But anyway...
That's a whole other ballgame, Steam.
Yeah. But another game came out recently called City Skylines.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And I really wanted to get into that, but I looked at it and I watched some of it and I was like, oh god, this is like hardcore, intense stuff.
Yeah, it's
I've never played SimCity.
Oh, okay.
I've never played any of those. So I had this in my Steam library and I was like, maybe this will be baby steps for me.
Maybe.
And I really liked it.
Sure.
So if it's on sale, I give it a thumbs up.
Cool. Yeah, I really want to try City Skylines because
Me too, yeah.
long ago enjoyed SimCity quite a bit. SimCity 2 or something. I don't know when that came out, like 15 years ago. It was one of those early games that I played when I was young, and I always enjoyed it. So I'm glad. It's great that they put that out and basically said, like, remember that SimCity game from a couple of years ago and how dog shit that was? Well, we fixed all the problems. How about you buy this one?
I forgot about that.
And it's sold really well, which is good for them. I will get to that. Probably that seems like a good summer evening game, where it's like,
yeah, definitely.
It's warm out. I'm just gonna poke it, mess around, build a city for an hour or two. Yeah.
Okay, so next on my weird list, this is a game that I'm actually really surprised about. Like, I've played a few early access games I'm not even going to bother mentioning in this podcast because they're not even worth mentioning just because they're the usual survive, get water, food, look around, all that stuff that you've heard. Yeah, there's bugs and stuff, but this looked similar. And again, I did it for silly YouTube videos, but it's called Reign of Kings.
Okay.
And it's actually surprisingly fun. What the developers tried to do is they tried to merge chivalry, advanced warfare, medieval warfare,
chivalry, advanced warfare. Yeah, okay.
That's a hybrid coming soon. So basically, they tried to merge chivalry with Rust. I never played Rust, so I don't really know the mechanics. But it's a survival game, but mixed with a multiplayer session of people, and you basically have to. It's kind of Minecraft-ish, I guess. You end up like punching trees and punching stone and then crafting weapons, but all at the same time, there are people running around in suits of armor that can come and just like lop your head off.
Huh. Well, I see a bear caveman ass on the Steam page, so yeah, it seems to be a lot like Rust.
But there's something like really, really satisfying about it because it's kind of like in the early stages, because I've still literally just made like my first house. It's very Minecraft-ish where you have to get stone so you can build a weapon so that you can get iron. But all the time there's people running around and you can chat to these guys and you're like, please, for the love of God, don't kill me because otherwise I lose
my head off.
Yeah, so I like run into the wilderness, I'm hiding, and then I get chased by a bear. And it's just full of all of those random, hilarious moments that make games like this good. And it's not broken.
What?
Which is excellent. It actually works.
I don't believe you.
There's hilarious stuff. You can make gallows, and you can like you can get a rope and like drag people, like new players, and then hang them and like shove them and stuff. There's a lot of like hilarious, funny moments to be had, and it's also very satisfying to make progress. And it's very tense at all times because when you make progress, you don't want to get killed by a player who's further along and has stronger weapons and armor than you. It's good.
Cool.
It's a good game, and I'm surprised. And also, a fun little novelty is every server has a king. He sits up in the throne, and at any time you can kind of like go across this big bridge and you can take him on. But he
is that a
has
player
a few people.
character or?
It is.
Wow.
It's an in-game player.
Okay, that's pretty
and he
cool.
can put taxes on all the land, and it's interesting. It's an interesting game.
Medieval games are always going to be, at the very least, interesting.
Yeah.
Open world survival medieval game. Yeah, that could be kind of cool when it's all finished up. If it keeps being popular in any form. That
but
sounds,
like open world
neat.
Survival games, especially early access, are usually cash grab garbage.
Oof, yeah.
And this one isn't. This one's actually a game, and it's fun to play with people.
Oh, good.
So
what a concept.
I was very
this is
that.
from the developers of Starforge. Ooh, okay.
What's that? Starforge?
It's a fucking train wreck of a survival space game.
Second time lucky, eh?
Yeah, I guess so. I've seen it a few times, and it's like, wow, this is ghetto.
Ghetto.
Oh, it's also out of early access. Interesting. It seemingly is finished. Okay, well.
Oh, what, Reign of Kings?
No. Starforge.
Okay.
Okay, time to stop. I'll better close this before it gets... Oh, God.
Okay, and I've got two more to quickly list off. Less to say about these. I finally finished Dreadout, which is a weird Indonesian horror game which involves you taking pictures of ghosts to get rid of them, kind of Fatal Frame-ish. It took them like 6 months to release the second half of the game, which is kind of a weird way of doing it. It wasn't early access, but it kind of was, and it wasn't really episodic. It was just like
it's like Broken Age then, where they put out half the game and let's see, a year and 4 months later, the second half is still not out.
But the second half was much better, and it's the weirdest game I think I've ever played. I had no idea what was going on. But
did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I did. It's so weird. I had no idea what was happening. It's pretty creative and it's pretty spooky. That's all I have to say about it. It's good.
Yeah,
good.
I remember seeing some stuff of it when it came out, and I thought, that's kind of weird. It looked foreign in kind of a good way, I think.
It was. Yeah. It was so weird. I have no idea what happened. And finally on my list, I also finished Iron Bread, which now came out of early access. and is now a full release game.
That's the Surgeon Simulator people, right?
It is.
Okay.
It is.
That's all I need to know.
I really, really like Bosa Studios, who are the guys behind it, because they do weird things, and I think that's important in video games. And they do weird things to a polished level, kind of like Goat Simulator. Overall, I didn't like it as much as Surgeon Simulator. Surgeon Simulator, I genuinely really enjoyed. Like, I would play it outside of making dumb YouTube videos. I actually found it challenging and satisfying. And Iron Bread, yeah, it was fun, but I don't know if I would have played it to completion if I wasn't making YouTube videos of it.
Right.
But apart from that, I like what they do.
It's interesting that QWOP has essentially spawned a genre of games.
Weird physics, bad control,
with
silly games.
Yeah, it's so weird. Who would have thought that shitty racing flash game, marathon game would have been anything? God.
But I'm also looking forward to the future of Bosa Studios, because they have another game coming out, which they've just kind of put out a few videos on, and it looks really interesting, and they're going in a different direction where I think they're kind of done making silly game jam games, and they're going to
make a real video game now?
A real video game,
okay.
Yeah. I can't remember what it's called.
Destiny 2.
You probably have done my research. But it's basically a multiplayer game based around making flying vehicles with your friends. So I guess, have you heard of Guns of Icarus?
Vaguely.
So I guess it's an aspect of that where you make vehicles with your friends, but you also have these Spider-Man type ropes.
Oh, weird.
And they can attach to any object.
So like Just Cause 2 grappling hook meets Banjo-Kazooie car building, but for vehicle.
But the cool thing that I really like to look at was the player's rope, which is more of a Spider-Man type thing. You grab onto something and you swing. But the rope itself is like fully fleshed out and has physics.
Oh, weird.
So if your rope, like if you hit something and then while you're swinging, your rope gets intercepted by like a tree branch, you're going to get flung up in the air and start spinning around it, and your ropes can clash with other people's ropes. And I think it looks like a fun time.
That's funny.
It's a silly genre. I like what Bosa is doing, and I look forward to the future.
Oh, good.
But that is all that I played over the month of April that I can remember or is worth talking about.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at as well. And I'm omitting so much from the prior months because it's just not worth talking about.
Those are things that I thought were interesting. What have you got, sir? What have you been up to?
I've got a few. Battlefield Hardline came out last month.
Oh yeah,
after being delayed. Let me clear my throat for my review of it. Here are my thoughts.
Okay, I got one question.
Okay.
I played the beta and it felt like Battlefield 4 with police cars. So,
yes.
All I really want to know is it more than Battlefield 4 with police cars?
It's less. Okay, wait. Let me do my review here, okay?
all right. Okay.
That's my review. It's a meh. It's fine.
Yeah, I thought so.
I did not play the campaign. I started and it was like all stealth cop bullshit with terrible writing and acting, and I just got bored of it immediately. I think the multiplayer is totally fine.
Yeah.
It lacks, I say it's less than Battlefield 4 because it lacks the chaos of Battlefield 4, because you're missing tanks and APCs and helicopters and jets.
Oh, that's sad.
There are a few. There are some helicopters, but not Apache attack choppers. It definitely lacks the chaos because it is more. It's just in general a really bizarre idea for a game. Just like Battlefield has always been about large scale warfare, and then to say like we're gonna tone it down and make it cops. It's like, okay, that's okay, weird, because like the level of battles they're getting into, it's like the military would be involved, but that's neither here nor there. There's some good modes. There's one mode where it's like Conquest, which is territories, where there's a flag. There's like 5 or 6 points that you have to hold to gain points or whatever, like territories. But the hardline version of it is those points that you have to hold are cars, like. So you have to get in the car and you have to drive it at a high speed to get points.
Okay, that sounds kind of interesting.
It is, because you can fill up the car with like 4 other people, and there's like 5 of these cars driving around. It's cool. There aren't as many like anti-vehicle weapons either. You can't you can't equip an RPG, for example, from your loadout. The RPGs are found on the map in specific locations with respawn timers, like Halo weapons, basically.
Old school.
Yeah, and I think that was a really smart idea to sort of just stop the like vehicle destruction from getting out of hand. And I think overall, it's just there are a couple of good game modes, like one where you're like robbing a sort of stealing money from a vault and taking it out of the vault and bringing it back to your home base. They're basically all just like cop and robber variations of classic game modes, but I think it's well made, and the gunplay is probably the most responsive and reliable of the Battlefield franchise so far. Okay. Mainly because like they figured out their netcode and it wasn't broken when the game launched, which always helps when hit detection works. Yeah, just everything about it seems fine, but completely unnecessary.
Yeah, that's what it looked like to me.
It doesn't look... I will say I don't think it looks very good, especially compared to Battlefield 4. Battlefield 4 still looks incredible, and Hardline's a little stale looking. But I don't really have much to complain about. I played a decent bit of the multiplayer, got my fill of it, and it was enjoyable. I had some fun with it, and some of the maps are pretty good, and some of the game modes are pretty cool, but... you know, it's hard to recommend it if you want a Battlefield experience. I went and played some Battlefield 4 recently, and it seems to be tight as all get out. They seem to have fixed pretty much everything that was wrong with it. And you know, it goes on sale pretty often for like $40. You can get the main game and all of the DLC and have like 40 maps or whatever. And the population numbers, to my knowledge, are still pretty similar between Hardline and Battlefield 4 on the PS4 or the PC. So. Yeah, Hardline, it's fine. It's fine, but completely unnecessary. You know.
Yeah, it won't be pulling me over anytime soon.
No.
I'm just not really invested in the franchise enough. I think I played all of them, and I've enjoyed them all moderately.
Yeah, I really have liked Battlefield, and it's harmless, but it doesn't... I like Battlefield because it's chaotic.
Me too. I think my favorite moments ever are like when you're in an aerial vehicle, whatever it is, and you're looking down on this map and you see like the other 63 people.
Yeah, and there's just tanks and jeeps and explosions and
that's
debris.
What makes it different from like Call of Duty to me.
Absolutely.
Really different from Call of Duty to me.
That was my biggest problem with it, is just it's not as chaotic, and you know, some people will take that as you will, you know. Yeah, that's all. It's harmless. And you know, it could have been way worse, and
I'm sure there's an audience for it.
Absolutely, yeah. But I also don't think they'll be doing much more with it. Who knows? Like they probably just could have lived. You know, Battlefront is out this fall, which we'll get to later, and like that's just Battlefield, Star Wars. Come on, and then Battlefield 5 will be out next fall. Like they did not need this placeholder, but whatever.
Seems weird.
The other big one was. Last week or 2 weeks ago, the Rainbow Six Siege alpha.
Oh yeah,
Rainbow Six Siege is a bit of a tongue twister there. That was on for a week. It was a closed alpha. Ubisoft sent us a code, and I played it. We only got one code, so
I didn't mind.
They're going to be doing an open beta at some point down the road. That game seems like it has a lot of potential. That demo they showed at E3 looked really cool. You know, it was a very Ubisoft idealized demo.
Yeah.
But, you know, the destruction and the basic teamwork stuff seemed potentially interesting. And I think, for the most part, the alpha did a pretty good job of proving that, like, yeah, this could be pretty interesting.
I am interested because it is a franchise which I have not responded well to.
I mean, the last one I played was like 2005. So, I was
just about to say, I haven't played them in years, so like I've changed as a person and a gamer across these, come up to 10 years now. I probably played it back on the PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
But I wasn't patient back then, probably because I was a kid and I wanted to go around shooting stuff. But I never really enjoyed the franchise, so I'm going to be interested to see if this one does anything for me. So I'm not excited, but I'm interested.
Yeah, that's a good spot to be at, I think.
Yeah.
I think the destruction's pretty good. I mean, it was very much an alpha. It was buggy, and all the graphics options were turned off. There were textures not there. Yeah. It was very much an alpha, which is kind of refreshing. instead of it being like PR, like, oh, come play our beta. The game's out tomorrow. Beta test for us, will you guys? Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. But yeah, it was rough around the edges, but the destruction is there. The teamwork is there for the most part. I do think it's a little, in terms of gunplay, a little too fast and loose like Call of Duty. I think they could probably slow it down a little bit. Get rid of things like, get rid of hit markers. Maybe make it, because you can, it's 5 versus 5, no respawns. So when you die, you're out for the rest of the round. The rounds are fast. Like, I'm talking 3 minutes. Like, you set up, there's two sides. There's the defend and the attack, and if you're defending, you set up barricades and reinforce walls and hold out and let the attackers come to you, and then when they find you, it's basically like firefight, shoot, 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 done. And either you win or you lose. And I kind of like that. It was really refreshing. There's like no downtime in between rounds. It's like 20 seconds in between a round, and then you're in the next round and you play it, and 3 minutes later you're done. But the coolest part was probably like acclimating to the idea that walls and ceilings are not safe.
Ceilings.
Yeah, so like I would put my butt out in a corner and think, yeah, this is safe, and then all of a sudden I would die and see the kill cam, and the guy punches a hole through the wall and then shoots my ass, and I died. And I was like, cool. Oh shit. Cool. And the same thing is relevant with some ceilings. It's not every ceiling. But like there's a plane map, and you can totally put charges on the ceiling and blow holes in the ceiling and shoot through the ceiling and the walls.
Cool.
And that stuff is really cool, and yeah, I think it has the potential to be interesting. If they do lots of good maps and polish it up, and I think it's sort of like Evolve a little bit in that it's fun when you're talking to people.
Yeah.
And communicating. Though it's still enjoyable solo, it's way better when you're communicating. It'll be interesting to see if I presume it's out this fall. It seemed cool, though. They could probably benefit from maybe slowing it down a little bit.
All right, I'll give the beta a go when it's out.
Yeah, I don't know when that's going to happen. I'm sure that'll be like an E3 thing or something. But
yeah,
it seemed neat. I really had a fun time playing it for the brief period that it was out.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, and I look forward to playing more of it. And I think with more polish and more maps, it could be pretty fun. But who knows? We'll see. It's Ubisoft.
We will see.
And the only other thing, I played a few hours of Ori and the Blind Forest.
Oh, yeah, I heard about this.
I don't think it's... I don't know. It seems like it looks phenomenal, and it's got nice music, and it's all like... It's challenging, and there's, it's the sort of Metroid-like thing where it's like, I can't get to this area until I have this ability. I've never... Mainly because of my age, I've never been a huge fan of that formula, because Metroid is like, I don't, I'm not old enough to appreciate Metroid.
Yeah, I never gave the franchise a go.
And I've never really fully acclimated to games where it's like, oh, you don't have the jump pack to get to this area, come back later. And it's like, I am never going to come back to this area. Like, what do you guys think?
Never coming back.
No, like, I am moving forward and not coming back. So that was a bit of a knock for me, but my biggest problem with Ori, everything seems great. I just don't think the platforming is good enough to justify the difficulty of it.
It's controversial, I think. I'm not even sure.
Like, you look at Super Meat Boy, which is a hard as nails platformer, and it's acceptable because the platforming is so tight and responsive, and it's so fast to get back in it, and you know, if you mess up, it's you messing up because the controls are tight.
Ori, that's how it should be, really.
That's how it should be. Ori is not. It's too loose. It's just like you can like jump up against a wall endlessly, and I just feel like everything about the basic jumping and moving is inconsistent, and it's just not tight enough. And I have stopped playing it because I got to a point where I am outrunning this like tidal wave and have to do all these shitty platforming things with no checkpoint, and it's just not enjoyable at all because the platforming is not tight enough. And I didn't
Quite surprised.
I didn't really have much fun with it, which is kind of a shame because I know a lot of people really liked it. I didn't really enjoy my time with it because I just don't think the platforming holds up. I just think the basic gameplay felt too loose, and just I was frustrated for almost the entire time I played it. So it's kind of a bummer.
I haven't heard many negative things about it, so I'm quite interested to hear that.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, who knows? Maybe it's just me being a retard or something. I don't fucking know. But I really could not play it and have any fun with it. So sorry,
Okay.
Ori. Sorry, Ori.
It's on my wish list,
Ori,
so
sorry.
maybe in the future I'll come back and say if I've given it a go and see if I have the same feelings. 'Cause I'm still interested to give it a go. It looks interesting. I like.
I'm sure it'll
platformers.
be a Games with Gold thing in 6 months or something.
Yeah.
It's too bad. Yeah, who knows? I would be really interested to see, like, if you felt the same way, because I just couldn't. I don't know. There were things about, like, I couldn't figure out if the forward momentum continued, and like jumping up against the sidewall was, I don't know. That game was weird, and I really couldn't figure out what it was, but I just could not get my head around the gameplay, and it just felt like it sort of reminded me of like Assassin's Creed. Like, no, what are you doing? Stop it! I want you to fucking jump this way. It's like, oh, you just decided to jump completely right. Okay, that's not at all what I was thinking, but hey, whatever.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than platforms that don't quite control how you want them to.
Yeah. So. Oh well, that was a long section on what we've been playing, because a lot of that includes March, and I'm sure I think the overall podcast length will go down with the next one, right, when it's like we are only talking about March here, because a lot of those things I played in March, or a lot of those things I played in March and not just
but are
April.
worth talking about.
Yeah. So April was
this should be
quiet.
a long one. This should be a long one.
Yeah, whatever.
All right, so that is pretty much the end of the gaming section of this podcast. We will talk a little bit near the end of the podcast about future stuff, but for now, we are going to transition into movies and what films we have been watching this month and what trailers have come out and any news and stuff that we are excited about. So, since I went first, I am going to admit that I haven't watched any movies. In like a long time. I've been so bad. I've been so consumed right now by video games. I still haven't watched Whiplash like you told me to watch Whiplash.
What?
I know, I'm sorry. I'm so bad. I've been so bad with films. I've got such a big list. I want to see The Theory of Everything, which I downloaded and I still haven't seen. I've been terrible.
I've been pretty. I have nothing really. The only thing I have watched that is of any significance recently is Furious 7, which was a delight. And
let's talk about that. We talked about it a little bit before, but let's do it again for the podcast. Summarize your thoughts on it, because I love the franchise. I love it. It's so stupid, and I like that.
It's so dumb. Like, it's probably the dumbest of all of the movies. And I loved it. It was easily I think it's the best of the franchise because it is so absurd. Like, the action is so ridiculous. It's so dumb. Everything about the characters, the writing, the dialogue, the music, the action scenes are absurd. It is so over the top. I was in hysterics for almost the entire movie because I was having so much fun watching it. It's a highlight of the year, I think, so far in terms of movies. Not that there's really been anything that's come out, but it is an absolute joy from beginning to end. It is so dumb. And then right at the very end, the Paul Walker tribute is shockingly genuine and graceful and really, really, really well done.
Cool.
You wouldn't think something that's so like big and clunky to be really, really quite graceful, I think is the best word, because it's a really well done finish and tribute to him. I think overall it deserves all that money it's making. It's real dumb.
Is there going to be another one?
Oh,
I mean, I
I'm sure.
presume so,
I'm sure.
because it's a franchise that doesn't die.
I am
ever.
sure. I mean, this is the biggest, fastest earning movie they have ever made, Universal
Wow.
Pictures. So,
That's crazy.
And I think the fastest movie globally to ever make $1 billion. So yeah, they will make more.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Yeah. And
Well,
I look forward to
7
it. Yeah.
and more.
Kurt Russell is in Fast and Furious 7.
Oh, really?
And he's such a badass. Kurt Russell. Oh my god. He's just got so much.
Yeah.
He's just so slick, and I haven't seen him since in anything, for probably 15 years or something. And I mean, he was like the king of the 80s, and it was cool to see him back and be just as cool and just as badass as always. Yeah, it's a great movie. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Like right from the beginning, you're like, oh, this is that type of movie. Okay. Like it opens with
Yeah.
someone visiting someone else in a hospital, and then it slowly like pulls back, and you're just like, yeah, okay, this is okay. I'm in. I'm on board.
Oh, teaser there.
Yeah, it's a high quality film, and I highly recommend it.
I will be watching it when it's available. Also, I realized that we forgot to do gaming news.
Oh, rewind.
So you got some editing fun to do.
Nah.
Really?
Nah.
So we're just gonna go what we've been playing, Fast 7, whatever it's called, review, and then back to gaming news.
Maybe. Who knows? I might edit it.
Okay. But it won't be that difficult to edit.
Yes, gaming news. We need like theme music. We need an intro theme music. We need news theme music.
Yeah, so I'll make us some theme music.
Do you want to sing a little news song? News.
That sound like a cereal advert, but there you go.
That was our theme song. It's you going ba-da-ba-ba-da, and then me going news. News.
Okay. Yeah. Someone could put some like dubstep behind it. It'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so what gaming news? You lead it, because I think you've given most of the
gaming
headlines
news.
to me.
Gaming news. Okay, well, we'll go from what is English again?
It's hard.
We'll go from oldest to newest, I think, here, more or less.
Okay.
Hideo Kojima fired
Yeah, that
from
was interesting.
Konami.
Weird. There still hasn't been any details, have there? Like on why he was fired? I think
It was
disagreements was like the one word that was
creative
in there.
differences.
Creative differences.
Shocking.
But it must have been
shocking.
so big.
Because
Like so big.
well,
to
yeah,
kick
because
Kojima out.
Konami doesn't make video games. Basically, they have like weird fitness things in Japan. That's where they make their money. And so Metal Gear is like the sole thing they have, and Kojima is like the man behind Metal Gear. He's been making them for like 30 years now, and they make lots of money. And they fired him. Yeah, it's shocking.
Weird.
Like I don't.
It was shocking. Yeah.
I like Metal Gear Solid. I know you don't, but it doesn't really matter because like this is
No, you're
a
right. it doesn't.
huge creative force responsible for some really important games, regardless of how you.
Franchises.
Well, yeah, I mean Metal Gear primarily, but yeah, there's a few other that he has his toes in.
Yeah.
And yeah, they just fired him and like stripped his
weird.
name from everything, and it's so bizarre.
It was it looked like a salty departure.
I would say
Doesn't
so.
seem like
yeah.
they were happy with whatever he did.
Yeah, and it seems like
I'm
as
fascinated
soon
by
as
what
the
he did.
game ships in September, like everybody from his studio is gone, to my knowledge, especially
God,
him.
Weird.
Which is a bit of a shame, but also that man has been saying since Metal Gear Solid 2, like 14 years ago, that he does not want to make any more Metal Gear
really?
Solid games. And, Japanese culture, especially the Japanese work culture, is very different from here. And it's very much, you stick with the company. The company you work at is the company you work at until you no longer work. And, it's just it's a very different culture. But like he has been saying for a very long time that he wants to do something else. And now he can't make any more Metal Gear games, so he's going to go do something else. And I don't know if it's going to be making movies, which he's always wanted to do, or making
that'd be cool.
making new games. Either way, I am excited to see what he comes up with next, because he is a madman in the best way. And
well, Metal Gear is basically a movie anyway.
I mean, yeah, so pretty much.
There.
I mean, there's 9.5 hours of cutscenes in Metal Gear Solid 4, and it's 14 hours long. So I mean, it's like 70% movie, and
that's why I'm not going in.
Yeah, that was crazy. Like, honestly, I mean, I can't say I'm like interested hugely in Metal Gear Solid 5. I mean, if it turns out, you know, on par with 2 or 4, I might be on board, because I really like 2 and 4. But we'll see. But yeah, just in general, that was sort of shocking in the way that like Irrational Games getting shut down was shocking. You know, where it's like, here's this huge name that's responsible for some of the most revered games ever made, and they're done, like, just in a day.
I'm worried about Silent Hills.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's no longer involved. It might still get made.
Yeah,
because I read into it, and it's a deal between Konami and Del Toro, Guillermo del Toro, the director. Yeah. But to my knowledge, Hideo Kojima was a big part of that. And I think
maybe they can replicate his image without him being there. Maybe.
Well, I think a lot of
PT's
sort of craziness was because he was involved.
And PT was so good.
And I think a lot of why PT was such a success was because he was involved in it. So, I mean, I
understand how he transitioned over to horror so effectively. I think PT is the scariest non-Oculus game I've ever played in my life.
PT is one of the coolest things that has ever happened with a game, honestly. I mean, they were just like, playable. This PT is now available on PlayStation Network. Go play it. And everyone's like, huh? And then, you know, just the complicated nature of the actual game, and then
ta-da! If you want to finish it.
It's Silent Hills.
Yeah, it was cool.
And
you're right, it was cool.
Silent Hill 5 / Silent Hills. Yeah, it's kind of a shame, but at the same time, like, he might go on to do really cool things. So we'll see. But yeah, that was crazy.
It was.
It was so weird.
I want an explanation.
Yeah,
maybe
in like 10 years, maybe when the NDAs lift or whatever.
Yeah.
What else? There's a new. They finally officially properly announced the new Deus Ex game, which I mean they had said that since Human Revolution did so well in 2011. They're like, yeah, we're going to do another one of these for the next gen consoles, and it's nice to have it named. And
what's the title?
Mankind Divided, and which is an appropriate title, I would say, going off of the sort of story beats that they're hinting at with the sort of cyborg versus, or the sort of altered. What do they call them again? They're like the.
I'm pitting years.
I don't know, but the war between the pures and the enhanced, let's say. I'm really excited. I thought Human Revolution was really cool.
I do remember really, really enjoying it. I never finished it.
I think what I liked most was just the world stuff and the story stuff, because I think that
I remember liking the style.
Yeah, and the style of it all, and you know, decent freedom.
It was like forever ago.
Well, it was 4 years now. Decent freedom in the gameplay was nice. But it was just fun to like go around and hack emails and read like all the story and world and lore stuff. Flawed game, sure, but
damn boss fights though.
Oh god! Overall, a great game, I think, and I'm excited to see what they do with a new one.
Yeah, I agree.
That was not exactly a shocking announcement, but it was nice to see, you know. And hey, maybe it's out this year. That would be even cooler.
Oh, we get something sweet.
What else? I think it was a week or two ago they said Soma, the frictional games game, is almost done. It sounds like it's...
I'm excited.
It sounds like they're just doing testing and then it's released. So I'm sure that'll be out in the next couple months.
I'm so pumped. There's a lot of pressure behind it though, because Amnesia...
I mean, Amnesia is legendary.
It really redefined the genre at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Horror was kind of shit until like Amnesia came out.
Yeah, when was that? Like 2009?
Like, there was like Silent Hill and
Resident Evil?
I was going to say Resident Evil, but Resident Evil is more survival horror. It's kind of like there was some great stuff on the PlayStation 2, and then horror kind of died and wasn't really scary, and then there was kind of fear, and it was okay, and then there was Condemned and Penumbra, and they were all okay. Amnesia came out.
Amnesia basically
changed everything.
Yeah, and it like invented the YouTube horror thing and brought horror games back to not necessarily the mainstream, but like yeah, horror games.
The king of indie, basically, is horror.
Yeah, yeah, and they are hugely responsible for what horror is like now. So yeah, high expectations for it because it looks. I don't want to play it.
I haven't actually seen anything to do with it.
I've seen like one trailer, and it's like
one trailer.
There's some sort of underwater thing, and it's cramped corridors and creaking metal, and it'll probably be a horrible waking nightmare, just like the first one.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I'm just interested to see if they do something interesting and new and unique because they're smart guys, apparently.
Yeah, and they've been working on it for quite a while. Yeah. Star Wars Battlefront. We'll talk more Star Wars later, but last week was Star Wars week, and they put out an in-engine trailer for Star Wars Battlefront.
That was a stunning trailer.
Whew.
Ooh,
I mean, it won't look quite that good, but it doesn't really matter. It will look pretty close. It'll be comparable to that trailer. What they are showing, I am on board. 100%. Yeah. What they're selling, I'm buying.
I loved Battlefront.
Battlefront 2, yeah, I think was the one that really took off.
I remember playing it very frequently around my friend's house on the PlayStation 2. It did some pretty crazy, unique things for the time. I think, anyway.
Oh, absolutely.
I was a kid.
Yeah. No,
I was a kid.
agree.
I didn't play every game. But I remember the expansive and large battlefield, and I remember being able to fly inside cruisers and take them down from the inside, and it was kind of crazy at the time.
Yeah,
it was
and
nuts.
to now have that on on the current consoles only, and let the Frostbite engine just run wild and have the visuals and the quality of.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Star Wars is back apparently.
Boy, is it ever! Yeah, I am very excited for that. I very much look forward to playing Battlefront again.
Oh yeah, it's going to be good.
And last and most important,
okay.
Mass Effect leak. Yay!
Mass Effect leak. All right, so the only information I got from this was through you.
Okay, so let me just go back a tiny bit.
Listen.
Mass Effect, whatever it's called, let's just say Mass Effect 4 for now, has been in development for a while, very openly. They put out like concept art here and there, and
there's a little teaser.
They showed their conceptual prototypes at the E3 2014 press conference, and then there was a big sort of internal survey that leaked out. I guess the exact same thing happened with Dragon Age Inquisition last year. I guess they build their E3 demo, and it's sort of, this survey is meant to go out after that demo to judge sort of public opinion on what they showed. And of course it leaked, 3 months before the demo was shown. And yeah, so it's seemingly all but confirmed by BioWare. Like everybody that has, inside sources, say yes, this is legit, and it's exciting. It's essentially a combination of the best elements from all three games. So like the mystery and exploration of 1, the sort of loyalty crew stuff of 2, and the combat and horde mode multiplayer of 3.
A fantastic ending of 3.
Oh, shut the fuck up. Can't have a goddamn Mass Effect conversation anymore.
It's still a meme. It's still a meme.
I know. So yeah, I'm very excited to see that at E3. I hope they show it off.
Me too.
I hope it's not
the franchise.
I hope it's not just a CG trailer.
I think it would be quite a surprising one to see as well, since most of it, except for the leak, has been kind of quiet, and we haven't seen much. If they just popped out on stage and were like, "Here's a gameplay demo," I'd be like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, or at the very least, a 2 or 3 minute trailer in engine. But yeah, it sounds like you're leading sort of a discovery squad into a new galaxy to sort of set up shop for the future generations, and there will apparently be hundreds of planets that you can explore. I think they actually said about 100 planets that you can explore.
Oh, it's too many.
Thanks to procedural generation.
Procedural generation.
I guess they're using procedural generation in combination with, they generate the terrain and then go in and add stuff manually. So, yeah, and you'll be able to freely go from your ship to the ground and get out and get on the Mako and drive around without any loading screens.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, pretty much everything they said sounds really exciting, except for the like ancient aliens with ancient tech that will solve all your problems. But that's sort of an inherent part of Mass Effect, even though I kind of, it's sort of been overdone over the last couple of years. But yes, I am very hopeful for another Mass Effect game, and I think each of the 3 games has its flaws, but they all excel in different areas, and combining what makes each of them great into one game could be a hell of a thing. So here's hoping it turns out. Here's hoping they show it at E3 and it looks cool. Because boy, am I ready for another Mass Effect game, especially on
I agree.
New consoles. Like, new tech could look pretty amazing. And
I'm not as invested in the franchise as yourself, but I've still played all 3. I like all of them. So yeah, I'll take another one. I haven't played an RPG in a while.
Yeah.
Give me one.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it for the game news. It was fairly busy actually the last month.
Yeah, it's been some big stuff.
It's been weird. E3 is still 2 months away and there's already lots of stuff. You can tell the momentum is making its way. It's starting to build towards E3.
E3. gimme. That's going to be good, actually.
Yeah, here's hoping.
Be good. Yeah. So, let's transition.
Back to the movies.
Back to the movies. Alright, so that kind of summarizes all the all the movies we watched.
Yeah, all one of them.
I'll try and watch some specifically for the podcast next time.
Yeah, you should.
But should we talk about trailers?
Okay, go for it.
Go straight into it. Recently, there was a trailer a full trailer for Jurassic World, which originally, I think there was actually a trailer.
Yeah, they've put out several.
So this is trailer 2 or 3 or 4. But there was a big 2.5 minute one. It probably outlined the whole of the movie. But it made it look not as shit as it did in the last trailer, because Chris Pratt was actually being funny and not being serious. But some of the CGI I thought looked pretty awful. And I don't know, I think it's just going to be...
mind control the velociraptors.
Are you sure?
What?
Are you sure you can do that?
The velociraptors are good guys?
Yeah, there's one really horrible scene where he's on a motorbike and they're alongside him.
Someone made an amazing gif where the two fist bump each other, like Chris Pratt and the velociraptor give a... God. I don't think that movie's going to be good.
I think it's going to be a kids movie.
Yeah, it looks like poop.
See.
But I mean,
12A maybe.
It's hard to compare it to one of the best movies ever made. I mean, Jurassic Park is infinitely rewatchable and never not amazing. Same can be said about Terminator, but let's not talk about that Terminator trailer. Let's just...
I haven't even seen it.
Don't waste your time. That movie looks
interest after... What was the last one called?
It looks so bad.
Yeah, what was the last
Salvation.
movie called? Oh, that film was terrible.
Yeah.
And I like the original trilogy, even though people don't really like 3 that much.
I don't really like 3 or Salvation, but I have watched them a few times and think they're relatively harmless.
Yeah.
Genesis looks so bad. But let's not.
Interesting.
Let's talk about
the 2 big ones.
Let's talk about the lesser of the 2 big ones.
Avengers?
Oh, the Avengers? Whatever. That movie's out tomorrow or next week or whatever.
Oh, okay, I'm missing out on one. Go ahead.
Batman versus Superman.
Oh my God,
versus Superman.
I completely
Do you bleed? You will.
I think I wiped that from my memory.
It looks so bad.
It does look so bad. I felt almost sorry for how bad
whoever
it looked.
cast that movie is an insane human being. I mean, truly. And
where did they get Ben Affleck from? I'm not a Batman fanboy, so I wasn't trolling a forum and screaming my head off when it was announced. But I was more confused than angry.
He isn't
Batman.
Ben Affleck is firstly not the most competent actor in the world most of the time. He's fairly bland, and second of all, Batman.
I know.
What? I don't want to watch that movie.
No, I don't even like Man of Steel. I don't like Superman.
Well, yeah, Superman's also stupid as hell. So.
Yeah, it's rubbish. And Man of Steel was a disaster, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was so bad.
So, yeah. The trailer was so lame.
Oh, that trailer is hilarious. I laughed like a child when he said those lines. And the robot voice, and oh, man.
But hey, what if we're wrong?
Oh, it's very possible. I would love to be wrong. There's nothing better, honestly.
True. Wise words.
And yeah, the big one, the record-breaking Star Wars The Force Awakens teaser 2 trailer set the world aflame.
For good reasons.
Yeah, it's a good trailer.
For good reason. It's an amazing trailer.
I respect Star Wars greatly. I don't really care about it all that much.
I'm similar.
But
I like them. I'm not a fanboy.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched the 4, 5, 6 are quite good. I think 5 is an excellent film. Actually,
3 is watchable, I find.
Yeah, I think Episode 3 is, of the prequels, it's easily the most watchable. It definitely has its problems.
Yeah.
And 1 and 2 are worse than like a flaming pile of dog crap almost.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
And yeah, I still think it's so bizarre that Star Wars is coming back and that it's probably going to be quite good.
It looks so good.
Yeah, it got me pretty excited. It's a combination of like poking at your nostalgia and not nostalgia, but taking advantage of like this is one of the most culturally and pop culturally important things, franchises of all time. And when you see certain shots in that movie, it's hard not to like get a bit of a chill, and it's like, oh yeah, this is super important.
It looks beautiful as well.
It looks really nice, and Han Solo is there, and Harrison Ford doesn't look totally drunk and bored, which is really reinforced. Like that's good. I'm glad. I was very worried. It's a good. It is a great teaser.
It is really well done. Yeah, it was taking a lot of guys to put that together perfectly.
Broke the world record. The previous world record for trailer views in 24 hours was the first teaser in December. Did about 40 million.
Wow.
The Avengers trailers are doing about 35 million. The teaser 2 in 24 hours did 88 million. So who's going to make some money this fall?
Everyone is going to see it.
Yeah, it is going to be huge.
And I was trying not to hype myself up for it because I think hype is dangerous.
Oh yeah.
But I can't stop it.
Yeah, and
I have no power.
Like I said, it's like I don't really care a lot about Star Wars, and you see that trailer and I was like, okay, yeah, this looks pretty good.
Yeah.
It was good on them. There's nothing better than a great movie trailer because it's very effective at getting the blood pumping a bit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And before we move on, I was just going to talk about Avengers quickly. See if you're excited. It's coming out soon. I think it premiered today.
Yeah, I think it's coming out a week early in the UK. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure why all Marvel films do that. I don't know what ties they have to
Maybe
Britain,
who knows? Maybe they put it out there to get the hype building for the Americas so that when it launches here.
It's a weird choice, and it's rare as well.
Yeah.
We're usually about a week or 2 weeks later than North America, so I'm not sure why. I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
I like Marvel films.
Yeah, who knows?
But anyway, I'm sure it'll be good, but something isn't grabbing me like the first film did. I'm not sure why. Maybe because I don't have a very good imagination and I can't imagine it being very different. I mean, I know Iron Man's going to fight the Hulk, which I'm sure will be cool, but then what else can happen? Once you've seen all of them in like unison fighting once, and you get that awe moment in the cinema and that's gone, I just don't know how they can kind of replicate that, but I guess we shall see.
Yeah, I don't have any real excitement for it. Like the first one was exciting because it was teased for like 5 years, It was just every Marvel movie ended with an Avengers tease, and now it's sort of just like, okay, more Marvel. I don't know.
Yeah, when I watched what was the last Marvel film to come out?
Guardians of the Galaxy, I think.
Guardians of the Galaxy was so good. It was so good, and I think I don't know. I can't really put my finger on like Marvel was like win for me, and then all of a sudden I think a few films happened where I just like wasn't feeling it as much. Captain America 2 was the biggest for me. I was just like, I need something different. And then Guardians of the Galaxy happened. I was like, yes, this is a change of the formula. This is what I need. This is amazing. And then Avengers 2 is coming out. I'm like, I'm just hoping it's not a step backwards, basically, from their amazing, entertaining formula.
I have pretty consistently enjoyed all of their movies, so I'm sure it'll be good. It's probably just bad trailers, because I have no real excitement for it at all, which is, I don't know, maybe not surprising. Who knows?
And the last trailer I was going to mention before we move on was Mad Max. I haven't watched any of these films, so I was kind of like confused when you were like all hyped about it because I didn't even know about the franchise. But I watched the trailer and it looks pretty awesome. It looks pretty much like a road rage film where people in weird cars drive around a desert and they blow each other up. I'm in.
That movie is going to be so good. That trailer.
Should I watch the old movies?
Sure, yeah. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
That trailer is so good.
Mm.
That'll come. I mean, it's part of like what are we looking forward to in May? It's Mad Max. In terms of movies, I am so excited for that, and I hope it turns out as good as it looks. Because God.
Yeah. Also, the action genre is usually pretty weak in movies. I haven't seen a good action film since
last
like
April. The Raid 2.
Oh my God! Yeah, the Raid. What a rare gem that was.
Yeah.
And a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Yeah. So also, I'm quite negative about the action genre. I love it. I just don't think they do many good ones. So
yeah.
I hope it's good. I hope it's really good.
God, do I ever. Oh, it looks like potentially one of the best things ever. Just it looks so insane in every sense of the word.
You need those films every now and then.
Yeah,
completely off the rails, balls to the wall, nuts.
Yeah,
for like an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Furious 7 is that for 2.5 hours, but it's a different times. It's a different type of crazy. You know, it's
okay.
It's kind of crazy dumb as opposed to Mad Max, which looks like kind of crazy.
Crazy.
Like kind of creepy crazy in a good way.
Yeah. So I think that pretty much summarizes all the films we have watched, which is basically none. Basically just talked about trailers and new stuff that's been released.
There was a lot of trailers. This was like the last 2 weeks. It's just been trailer city every day. It's been kind of weird.
So movies are looking strong for 2015.
Yeah.
Which is good
maybe.
Because we'll see. But I wasn't very positive about games in 2015, but
it's also still early. Still, I mean,
it is.
Got E3.
But if the year is weak in games but not weak in movies, I'll take it.
I suspect 2015 will turn out being pretty good for games. I mean, E3 is a couple months away, and it'll be. I think there'll be quite a bit to see there.
I hope so. Then that pretty much covers it. I think before we ended the podcast, we wanted to quickly talk about anything that we plan on playing over the month of... What's the next month?
May.
There we
What's happening in May? There are 3 things for me. As I already mentioned, I want to watch Mad Max big time. Yeah. The only 2 games I'm excited for, Wolfenstein, they're doing a sort of prequel, standalone, smaller... sort of story campaign for like $20. It's out, I think, the 5th of May or something like that.
Interesting. Yeah, I think I'll be giving that a go as well. Loved.
You played through the new order since we.
Yeah, because the last time we spoke, it was top 10 of 2014.
Yep.
And it was on your list, and I said I hadn't played it, and I have now finished it, and I think it was an amazing game.
Yeah,
and it played amazingly, and
the characters and writing and the gameplay, everything about that game is superb, and I am thrilled that they are doing more of it.
And my rule of not going DLC will most likely be broken for that.
Well, this is less DLC and more of it's a standalone title. Yeah.
Standalone.
It's like a standalone sort of, arcade of what we...
I prefer those.
The old days of Xbox Live Arcade when you could just easily sort of set up what a game is going to be. Yeah, so that's out in a couple weeks. I'm very excited to play that. And then, of course, the big one on May 19th is The Witcher 3, which... the more they show that, the more I say, yep, they might just have done it. But I mean, the next time we record this, we will both have played that game extensively.
It's weird.
We will probably have released a review for the game before we record another one of these. I don't
know why, but Witcher it felt so far away.
Yeah, well, it's been so far away up until now. When it's like 3 weeks away, and if the gods are willing, we might even get early access to it. We'll see. have not been this excited for a game since since 2013. Because I mean, you know, GTA 5 was the last time I was excited for anything. Really.
Hype is dangerous, man.
I know,
Dangerous.
but I mean, I have a fair bit of confidence in their abilities, and
that's always nice when you have confidence in a game company.
Yeah,
it's quite rare.
Because the more every time they show it, it's like, oh my god, yeah, they're doing it. So
they're doing it.
And since we did the 2014 top of 2014, I realized that I kind of don't like a lot of Dragon Age Inquisition. Like the story stuff is great and the writing is great, but there's so much filler that it's like impossible to enjoy. I don't know how people loved it.
Impossible to enjoy. That's quite a contrast.
Well, no. I mean, I still really like it, but you know, when it's like this next story mission, you have to level up 3 times, and it's like I'm gonna like go and pick flowers for like 400 people and complete like 50 quests that are all going to be like me fetching something and returning it for like 4 hours, and I just stopped playing it, which is kind of a shame because I was enjoying it for the most part, but it did not hold me, and I hope that The Witcher 3. I mean, they've specifically said they don't like fetch quests, so you're already nice. Out on the right foot. So
that is nice to hear, actually. I'm very excited for it because I think I probably said somewhere else in one of these videos that I don't dislike the franchise. That's wrong. I haven't been gripped by the franchise yet.
Did you play any of 2?
Yeah, I played like
oh, sure, right. You tried
3 hours, yeah. And I couldn't really get to grips with it, and I didn't have the most free time at the time, so I haven't really got involved in the world ever. So I'm hoping that 3 does.
Yeah, 2 was quite famously very difficult to get into. I mean, they have both been very hard to get into, and they've already said that they are making sure that 3 is completely accessible to the newcomers, because there are going to be a lot of newcomers, I think.
Yeah.
I think the majority of people that play it will be ones that haven't played the previous games. So yeah, I am so excited. If it turns out it could be
game of the year.
Could be a hell of a game. But
yeah.
We'll see. We'll know in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, just under 4 weeks. So
I haven't played a good RPG in a while, so bring it on.
I haven't played anything good in a while, so fucking I am ready.
Okay.
As good as Bloodborne is, it's hard to feel positively about Bloodborne.
Yeah, it's a mixed emotion experience.
Yeah, and like I just need something new that is just joyful. Yeah, like I mean it. GTA 5 was still the last thing, like the last big game that has come out that has been wow, you know. Because 2014
hasn't been a WoW game in a while.
Yeah. So, how about you? There's not much.
Apart from everything you said, there's one little game came out called Titan Souls. I'm definitely going to be giving a go this month. It's basically it's probably not for you because it's only boss fights for the entire game. But it's obviously based on the name. It's based off, I think it's got like a Shadow of the Colossus Dark Souls influence, where you have one arrow, and if you get hit once, you die, and that's it. And you basically got to go through the game defeating bosses. I like the art style, and I'm definitely going to be giving that a go. And starting tonight, I'm going to be starting Shovel Knight because apparently it was one of the best games of 2014. I just finished Bloodborne, so why not do another boss filled frustrating adventure? I don't know if it's frustrating actually, but I know it's boss filled and it's difficult, and I'm really looking forward to it because I like retro games and I don't play enough of them. So I'm looking forward to trying Shovel Knight, and I presume it's a reasonably long game, so it might take me a week or so. But apart from that, it's going to be Shovel Knight, Titan Souls, and then everything you mentioned above. I'm looking forward to The Witcher 3. I'm sure that's going to take a big chunk of my month out if I want to give it a proper service.
Yeah, I mean, I think they said the main quest line alone is like 50 hours long, so
yeah,
strap in. You're in for 100 hours, 150 hours easily, I'd say.
Good times.
Yeah.
But I think apart from that, unless you have anything else you're looking forward to, that is the end.
We should probably stop this recording, yeah.
It has been a long one, and as you said, it was most likely to be longer than usual because we have been going back past the previous month, and there's been a lot of stuff when it comes to trailers and gaming news to talk about.
Yeah, I think
it's been a busy one.
I think all feature episodes will be shorter, as we said.
Definitely, yeah. That's what we're aiming for.
Yeah, and then who knows? Yeah, and I should also say that like we know that people like MythBuster videos. They are difficult to do mainly because, well, I mean they're difficult because they're time consuming to make, but it's hard to make a MythBusters series. And we haven't done it, we're not the only ones here that participate with this channel, but we've done a little bit of it, and it's hard to make MythBusters videos when you're not excited about the game. And there just hasn't been anything that has excited, I don't any of us really, to an extent that makes us want to spend time in the world testing the edges of the world and testing and like GTA 5 is a great example because there's so much in it, but it's also like it was so exciting and you were thinking about it all the time, and that's why there were like 15 episodes of GTA 5.
Yeah.
I think The Witcher is it's a good candidate for myth busting, because if it turns out good, then we'll be excited about this huge open world game with lots of systems in it. But until then, like I don't. MythBusters isn't exactly our area of expertise, but people should know that it's hard to make MythBusters videos when there's nothing to be excited about. If Destiny had turned out,
and
like,
the fact
wow.
that the only that would be nice, but the fact that the only ongoing series of MythBusters that we have, or that I even think we should continue doing, is a game that came out in 2013.
Yeah, and I mean GTA 5 has been worked to death, honestly, and I mean. Now it's at a point where it's like, oh, we could try something with this new weapon, but like, then we have to think of like 4 other things and make it entertaining, and it's tough because there have not been games that have been particularly primed for myth busting, and then those that have been disappointing. So
damn you, Destiny.
Destiny, Halo, just Evolve, like all these games which potentially have systems that can be tested really well. It's hard to test. It's hard to spend hours and hours making a 3-minute video for a game that you're kind of like, whatever. I don't really give a shit about this game. So stop fucking complaining.
Well, they're gonna love
kidding.
that.
I'll cut that out.
Yeah. But yeah, there will be MythBusters in the future, of course.
Yeah. Hopefully this fall turns out, because I mean, big, more open Halo game with totally new gameplay, and a Battlefront game, and who knows what else. Fallout 4, maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see. But, yeah. For now, we will keep flooding this channel with videos that no one wants to watch, that are now also 2 hours long. Thank you, and good night. No, we won't end it there. Just kidding. No,
we can't end it there. But no, thank you for everyone who's watched all the way to the end. It's a really long one, and if you like the podcast format, let us know. Let us know if you enjoy this, and obviously we're going to keep them coming because we like talking about stuff. We're chatty people, and it's fun to do, but hopefully there is an audience on this channel for it. Mythbusters will be back. You are probably the most patient community in the world by now, because you are used to waiting months for them anyway, so... Thank you for watching all to the end, guys, and we will see you next time.